And we're back with day 22, Survivor 46 and 46. I just finished Redemption Island. Boston Rob finally won. We're going to talk all about that. It's a fun storyline if you watch it like this. I actually don't hate the win. Today we're joined by McKenna and Carrie. So, Carrie, thank you for joining us today. We're going to start with you. What are your thoughts, your honest thoughts on this season? Just before, just in case you have any positive ones, I'm going to let you get them out of the way now. Just in case you might, I don't know. You could love the season.
Yeah, well, I don't love it, but I remember after I watched it, I remember if it was like rigged for Boston Rob to win, but then McKenna reminded me that they did like a random draw in the beginning, so like probably not rigged, but like
could have been.
But like I don't like why didn't someone just vote him out, you know? But there were like some good things in this season. I mean, like it was fun to like see Andrea for the first time, you know. I thought she was like, you know, kind of fun and cute, and you know, we got Philip for the first time, and that was something.
Should have been the only time.
There's that girl in the beginning with black hair that absolutely hates everybody, like
Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Russell got voted out, so that's
a good thing. Yes,
I hated him in the I hated him for a long time, but in the beginning, he was calling the girls like his dumb girl alliance. Like,
yeah,
it was Samoa, but that was essentially Carrie's.
Yeah, this time around, he didn't refer to them as that because they came to him and were like, "Hey, we want to be your dumb girls." So he didn't even have a chance to do it this time. And I think I'm actually glad that you brought up the whole rigged theory, only because I obviously I also don't buy into it, and I'm glad you're not on that page anymore. And I think the main reason is, and the reason that they don't vote him out is very simply, he's playing with people that don't know the show. These people don't understand anything about Survivor at all, and it's very clear that these people are not fans. We're still in the midst of a heavily recruited era.
Were he and Russell the only people not recruited?
I think maybe it's kind of seemed like David Murphy may have seen a couple seasons because he did like actually know things about the show.
I feel
Stephanie maybe, but like
it's a very small amount that are like not recruits.
Yeah, and it's very apparent again. You know, last time we had McKenna and I said it about that, and saying it again here. It's very apparent who has seen the show and who has not seen the show, and it just so happens that it seems like most people on Zapatera, not most, but there are more people on Zapatera that have seen the show than on Ometepe. And I don't even think it was a bad idea for them to get rid of Russell when they did. Now, the wind got sucked out of them after that happened. But if if you have 2 seasons to work off of and you know that this man is probably, going to do what he's going to do, you nip it in the bud now and just kind of hope. I personally didn't need a Russell or Rob season after Heroes vs. Villains. If I wanted to pick, I would probably have Rob over Russell. What was it, McKenna? What was it about this time period that we were in the midst of Hans Mania? Because we're not even close to being done yet.
Well, let me tell you, Andrew, I was part of Hans Mania.
I didn't know that.
Yes, Russell was. I mean, I wasn't watching it live, but as I was watching Russell and his seasons, I was a big Russell fan. Then got to semi-know him outside of the show and was like, ooh.
I think I hate you.
He really is exactly who he says he is.
Oh, I know. I've encountered him a few times, and yeah.
I was like, I'm good. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's an edited show, blah, blah, blah. And, I love a good villain, and he was all of that at that time. And so I was rooting for Russell when he got voted out. Then I was rooting for Stephanie. which still I say still valid, but
Yeah, she was fun.
and then on a rewatch, so we actually just rewatched it this last January, and it's really fun to watch Rob work.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yes.
It is. It's also for people that play video games. It's kind of like playing on easy level and watching it happen in real time, because there was never a moment. And like the amount of times he just smirks at tribal council or around campus is like, yeah, I would do the exact same thing because this is as easy as it gets. And he has a confessional where he says it shouldn't be this easy, and it is. And I think, yes, this season is extremely boring and technically not a pagonging because Matt Elrod goes out first at the merge. But it just leads to such boring television. One, because you know what's going to happen, but two, because no one. When Andrea finally comes back and is trying to make a move, and Natalie's just like, I don't know, I really don't want to. I felt bad for her this time around because she's 19 years old, has never seen Survivor, and is now put in a situation where she doesn't know what this game is going to do to her. And so she's out there, and she actually is making friends, and she is looking up to Rob, and she does feel guilty for going after. So I understood her rationale with it. It just sucks that they didn't cast someone that wouldn't do that.
Right. I mean, also just the mentality of being 19 on Survivor can also just mess you up.
But wasn't Andrea like 20 though? I mean, she wasn't.
She was young. She was young too.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
And she's Natalie even says, like, I just got out of high school.
Yeah.
When she's sitting there at Final Tribal, she was like, I could be the youngest female winner in history. And like, she's looking over at Rob and Jeff, I think, for confirmation because she doesn't know.
She's like just saying these things like, is this it?
And I felt for her this season, or this time around watching it, because Ashley and Andrea really like tear into her for things that they were also doing. Like, Andrea eventually tried to make a move. Ashley never actually tried to make a move to get Rob out.
Yeah.
So for them to sit there, and I'll just go more on Ashley with this, to come after Natalie like that, it's like, you guys were all a part of this cult. As they like, I keep trying to avoid using that word because I'm going to use it a lot tomorrow. But it was what it was. Even Grant has confessionals this season, which is crazy. Where he says, I'm my own man, and I have to listen to Rob. It's like, well, you kind of are. That's the whole thing, is you can't hate Rob for this season because he is playing the game. He's just playing easy. So what do you think about Rob's win this season as a whole, and only looking at the bubble of just this season? What do we think about it?
I think it's just a master class in how to play Survivor and how to work people and how to maneuver the game. I think it really is like, the blueprint, and which helps Philip try and run Caramoan, which leads to him literally making a rule book.
Yeah, if I didn't know Boston Rob, if Boston Rob like didn't really exist before this, I would be like, oh my God, he's like amazing. How is he doing this? He's a genius, blah, blah, blah. It's just, but like he does the same thing over and over again. It's like, we all know what he's gonna do. Regardless of what
the two times that Rob has actually done really well in the game, aka sitting at the end, season 8, where he's playing with all of his friends, and his friends are stupid and thinks that he's actually like, gonna play friend Viber out there. And the second time, he's playing for his 4th time against a bunch of jabronis who have never watched the show before. And in the games that he has actually not done well, Marquesas, he ended up on the wrong side of the numbers, and he antagonized people, and he win. Here's versus villains. Tyson's before, he really had no shot. And then Winners at War, he tried to use the Redemption Island strategy, And that ain't happening with Sophie Clark and the rest of them. It might work with Ben, but whatever. It didn't work with Sophie. And I guess Ben was on that tribe, but I'm not going to give him any credit for anything. For me, despite the fact that he was playing with a bunch of jabronis, and despite the fact that, and I'm going to get to this question, that the season could have been different if the tribes were reversed, I still think it's top 3 most dominant wins. Just, you don't, who cares if the cast is what it is? You still played a masterclass. Whatever David Murphy was touting about at Final Tribal, it just comes off as pretentious, because David Murphy comes off as pretentious for most of the season. Mm-hmm. Where do we rank, in your personal rankings, where do you put Rob's win here?
Rob's win? I mean, it kind of falls a little bit because it is his 4th time out, and they literally had to spoon feed him a recruit-filled cast. So it's like, while he played the game masterfully, it's hard to give him like a full credit of like, holy crap, how did this man, do this? Where like, I feel Kim, you'll get to it, she played with some jabronis, but she did have strategic people.
She was really impressed. Yeah, Kim was really impressed.
But she did this on her first time. She was new as well. So it's like, I feel more merit to that win than there is to Rob's win.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's Tony and Winners at War, Kim, and then Rob, as far as overall dominant wins. For the longest time, I had Tom Westman up there, but like, especially continuing to rewatch Palau, it's like, oh no, I'm fine with that. And so going off of that, going to the question finally, do you still think that Rob wins if he ends up on Zapatera? I try not to fantasy book, as I always say, but this is a fun question to talk about because there is a potentially a 50% chance if they're telling us 50%, and I do trust that it was actually, out on the level. If he ends up with Zapatera, I don't see them throwing the challenge to get him out, because Rob doesn't have a history of the Russell. Rob doesn't have the Russell history.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, just based off the fact that, we're just going to assume that everyone was a recruit, except for David, which means most of them would have just watched Heroes versus Villains. And maybe All-Stars, but probably just Heroes versus Villains. And if that's the case, all they're seeing with Rob is Rob being, having a rivalry with Russell where he's being portrayed as the good guy, mm-hmm. and he's being loyal to Sandra and Courtney. Mm-hmm. So I don't see them throwing the challenge to get rid of Rob. Now, I do feel like if he had been on Zapatera, that tribe would have annihilated, like Ometepe would have been screwed because they were already struggling to begin with. And if you add Rob to that, along with, Ralph and the rest of the crew, I do feel like they kind of kill it the rest of the challenges. Yeah. And I do feel like someone like David might try to flip on Rob at a point.
Mm-hmm. I think.
Go ahead.
I think Rob always. He comes off at first. It's mainly like, I feel, the confessionals where you get a sense of, how Rob is, but he comes off as like this nicer guy. Like Russell comes off as aggressive. Mm-hmm. So I feel like Rob would assimilate more. And while Rob was finding all the idols on Redemption Island, he didn't do it in the way that Russell finds idols, where he has that like connotation of like just right off the jump, idol hunt. So I think Rob could like mesh in with either tribe better, but I think he really lucked out with Ometepe because I think Zapatera had a lot more brains in the, just like, even if they're wrong, just talking, where Ometepe, they were just agreeing with Rob.
Yeah, and the craziest thing about it is, I think that if Russell plays on Ometepe, I think Ometepe still gets annihilated, but I do feel like he would still have the Russell control that he has because of how easily these women plus Grant and Matt Elrod have towards Rob in this season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad. So this is the end of the Russell story. Thank God. And all I'm going to say about Russell this season is I was so happy to watch him cry on Redemption Island. It was a great epilogue to a story that should have ended after Heroes versus Villains. Him saying I'm done with Survivor and Rob saying he was done with Survivor too. We're actually
then Russell goes on Australian Survivor.
He goes to Australian Survivor and gets the shit kicked out of him there. Rob comes back for Winners at War and every other reality show ever. The David Murphy proposal is ready to happen, so like I might cringe.
So bad.
But bye Russell. Hello Brandon. Tomorrow. Outside of that, though, like this, I know we've had 3 returnees, not including Rob from this season. 3, but I don't see why. I don't understand why. Because, I mean, I get it with Philip. I do, because he is the character of the season.
Right.
You do need to bring him back. Yeah, you do have to bring him back. Andrea, I do think that Andrea, her appearances after this season, I think warranted, a returnee season. And then Francesca, it's just like, okay, yeah, she was the first boot.
They brought her back just because of Philip and Caramoan. Like,
yeah.
There was no other reason aside from drama.
Which and we really didn't get much drama with them that season. And yesterday, okay, so everyone that tuned in yesterday, or anyone that has gone back and watched the Nicaragua one, you guys know how low energy I was yesterday and how I actually hit like the biggest wall so far because I hated it. Today, I watched it. And I was looking for reasons to be invested. And I will say there are 2 good episodes this season. The premiere and the merge. And I feel like we can base this whole podcast on the premiere and the merge because that's really what everything comes down to. That's the only time there's actually fun that happens. And the premiere, we have the moment where they show up and, Francesca said what she says. And we've got, is it Christina or Christina?
Christina Kel.
Christina, because Christine is 123, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Christina, she's looking for the idol. She finds, I think she's the second person to ever find an idol without any clues. I believe. She finds it, and then we get introduced to Philip Shepard. Now, McKenna, I know you said earlier that you don't think that we needed another Phil season. I would say that I prefer Phil 2.0 over Phil 1.0. And this time around, until Race Wars, I found him pretty funny, which is the first time I've ever found Philip funny. What are y'all's thoughts on Philip Shepard 1.0?
I hate love him. Like hate love.
His great granddaddy or whatever.
Heron. Yeah.
I mean, I owe my podcasting career to Philip Shepard because he is the specialist.
He is the specialist.
I appreciate him in that way, but
I just don't understand. I don't get him. Is he for real? I don't know. Like, who knows?
And that's the thing about, and someone calls him out on it for having like different personalities out there. There are moments this season where his character does just change. Like he has real moments. Yeah, I think the when they're sitting at camp right before they go to Final Tribal, and he's having a moment, and he goes back and forth between talking about Jessamine Herring, but also talking about what his experience is for him. Even at Final Tribal, his moment with Ralph, I felt was really real. I felt that was a genuine moment. And for some, I think it's the look in his eyes. You can always tell if he's playing a character or not based off of how he's looking at people. And I think that was the fun game that I played today of figuring out what was real Phil and TV character Phil. Mm-hmm. I think, like he said, the moment that he saw Rob and Russell get off that helicopter, he changed his whole thing. And I do think that that's probably the case. I think that Phil actually went out there to try to play the game. And when he saw those two people out there and realized what this was, this is supposed to be their season. Let me try to play to the camera. That's how I felt it happened. And I mean, it worked for him because he comes back for Karamoan.
Yeah. Well, what I love about Philip this season too is former federal agent with question mark in his lower third.
Yes. Phil, in this season, and this is the only reason I'm going to have it above Nicaragua and Thailand, is because Phil does add entertainment to it. Now, it makes you uncomfortable during Rice Wars, but like overall, his confessionals are the only thing I care about most of the time. Like, I don't care about anything else that happens in this season. His confessionals is like, it's fun. It's fun to just sit there and say what kind of crazy stuff this man's going to say next. And I think the reason I have not looked Coach for so long is because Coach in Tocantins is already a good season. I think that he adds to it, but I don't want to just see Coach. I want to see other people. And I think the reason that I hate South Pacific is because it's the Coach cult, and we just get nothing but Coach. Heroes vs. Villains is my favorite Coach because he doesn't outstay his welcome, and I feel like he's the most, except for the him and Tyson moment after the Randy vote out, he's the most level-headed. And I feel like Philip and Karamoan is way more level-headed that time around than here. Here, he is very much playing a character. To go off what you were saying, Carrie, I think that he's a character here.
Oh, yes.
And I think also he has to be, because if he's cognizant of Survivor, he knows Boston Rob will be eating the screen time. So he has to do something to stick around longer, to, take the screen time.
Does he know that? I mean, is he that smart?
If he's smart enough to be a character, I think it kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, that's what I saw in a video of Liz saying, that she was like trying to vote people out based on what character that they thought they would be. So, I mean, Philip trying to be a little bit more out there, I think aided in his character to bring him back for Karamoan, where he was a lot more like rigid, where he had like his like specialist tendencies, but he was still very like strategic with everything, and less like Jessam Herring and wearing feathers.
I just don't know, because then he gets to FTC and it's a mess. I mean, we're not there yet, I know, but like if like he's being a character, like why doesn't he go to FTC and just be normal? But like he's not.
Yeah, because I think at that point he understands. Yeah, he knows
the only vote for him is File.
File, yeah.
His own
I'll vote for File. No, I think that. I don't think that Philip actually tried. I think that if Philip makes it to the end of Karamoan, we get a totally different performance, because I do feel like in that situation, he probably, would have a better chance of that. Here, I think he understands Rob's got this wrapped up, so I might as well just go in. Even the things that he's saying Rob was the mastermind. He's doing it, I feel like, on purpose. I feel like when Natalie is saying it, she's just saying it because she's sweet and doesn't understand that if you sit there and that Rob's the mastermind, that people are just gonna be like, yeah, we know, and you're dumb, even though she's not. But like, that's how I think that Philip is doing it on everything that Philip does this season. I feel like is calculated, except for Rice Wars, which we can just talk about it now.
Sure.
In that scene, I feel like we both got real Philip and Crazy Island Philip, and it's very hard to figure out where one starts and the other one begins, because I do feel like it started off as a Crazy Philip moment. I know I can't use that word. And I think even when he throws out the race card, that it's a Crazy Philip moment. And then there's like a bit where he like sits down and generic old white guy Steve, yes, Steve, I think even Steve sees that, okay, this is different now, because Steve starts to back up and he's like looking off to the side and he's like, do you guys see what's happening here? The most uncomfortable part about Rice Wars is the fact that they commit a lot of time at Tribal to it. And it's...
Listen, Rob just wants his crispy rice.
I get that, but it was... I didn't need that conversation in this season at all. Yeah, if we're talking maybe like in Marquesas, it worked. You know, in 42, it worked. Here, because of who it is, I just like everything he was saying at Tribal. Yes, you know, the person calling his dad boy and all that, like, fine, like, but it's just, I feel like it doesn't hit. It's just like Nyanka last season saying, "Oh yeah, I'm the last black woman standing." It's like right before she quit, and it's like, yeah, do you understand the optics of what you were saying, though? It's like no one is going to care because everyone's going to hate you for a variety of reasons, but especially this. And with Phil, it's like, okay, yeah, you're talking about all of this, but to a lot of fans, they're not gonna like you because of everything else you're saying. So they're gonna be blah blah about everything you're saying right here. So I mean, I know this is a rough subject, I guess. What did y'all think about Rice Wars as a whole? It's my least favorite episode of the season. I couldn't even tell who gets voted out that episode, but
it was just so ridiculous that they are bending to Rob's like, I want all of the crispy rice, that like Phil can't have some of the crispy rice. It's like Rob has to have all the crispy rice. I just don't understand why like this blew up to, you know, the Steve and Philip of it all. Like it was just such a mess of a situation.
Gary?
I don't remember.
No, it
she blacked it out.
Yeah,
just like, no.
I mean, that's a you should. I mean, the fact that this is another season where, I mean, yes, I could probably sit, if I were to try, I could sit here and name everyone on the season. I'm not going to. I had to say old white guy for Steve to clock in my head. This season is also very religious, to the point where Matt Matt continues to say that, oh, it's God, 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 and like, this is not me shitting on religion at all. But a lot of the stuff that there's a moment where, oh, God told me to give the family visit to everybody else. And they get back to the Redemption Island, and they're just like, no, that's Phil, or not Phil, Ralph is pissed off. The Marine, Mike, is pissed off. And Mike is another one of these religious folks this season. It wild to me that I forgot about the religious aspect of the season, and that God helped Matt Elrod win Redemption Island, you know, the first time around. And God also told Matt Elrod to tell Rob that he thought about voting him out, for Rob to vote out Matt at the merge. Why did God punish Matt like this?
and then he was saying something like, you know, it's God's will that I am on back on Redemption Island again, and he'll help me through this. But I think my favorite part, it honestly, I loved that Krista, because there is a Krista on the season.
Christina and Christina.
The blonde girl.
Yep. Gave Matt her Bible, which was her luxury item. But, you know, that was a great moment between the two of them. But then that causes Andrea to get really jealous because another hot blonde girl is giving him her Bible.
Oh my God.
And she watched this Redemption Island duel, and she was just like, Okay, what is he doing on Redemption Island now?
Oh no, the proposal's happening.
Yeah, proposal's happening right now. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a fun little, I guess, preview for what we're gonna get next season. But yeah, I feel like God really screws over Matt Elrod this season, or Wyatt Nash as he's
I
now
was
known.
just gonna say, you mean Wyatt Nash?
Yeah, well, Wyatt Nash as he's now known as.
He's an actor now.
Yeah, he's an actor now. He was on the Archie show, right?
Yeah, he was on Riverdale. He has
Oh.
an episode of Pretty Little Liars too.
Oh, yeah.
But he's only in like for 30 seconds. of Pretty
So,
Little Liars.
okay, it seems as if, I don't know, okay, obviously, like, back then, there was a lot of religion, Christianity specifically, talk in Survivor. And I don't know if that was, like, a reflection of our culture at the time, or if they're just, like, casting more diversely, or what's happening.
What, 2011, 2012 at this point?
Yeah.
Probably not. I just think that they just happened to come across a few very religious folks this season. Mike Wyatt, or now I'm calling him Wyatt, Matt Elrod, and Krista. They just came across these three people that are like, and once again, it's not a knock on religion. It's just, it's very funny, the types of things that God is telling Matt this season, and most of it is like coming back to bite him. Specifically, hey, you should probably at least think about voting Rob, but also tell Rob that you thought about voting him. It's like, yeah, I get it, whatever. Matt was fun for what he was.
Yeah.
Like, it was fun to watch him win all the redemption challenges. I think it's very telling on this rewatch of Andrea is going to win the battle back, because when Grant shows up, Andrea's the only one that gets a confessional where she's like, oh yeah, I'm the underdog or something. It's like, oh, okay, well then Andrea's gonna win then, because you're the only one that got a confessional and you're the only woman here. So this is what they're setting. And
I just love how it is like that she has to do this challenge against the Matt Elrod's not beefy, but like these three beefy guys to try and like get her way back into the game, and she succeeds in it, which is amazing. And it like, it's so, you don't think she will, but then you get to the challenge and it's actually geared a lot more toward her than it is any of the others.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get the battle back. Andrea wins. Andrea comes back. And then from there, once again, just like I said, the merge episode and the premiere are the only good episodes, because after that, it's still just like, even if Rob doesn't win, which he doesn't, because Ashley wins he wins that, but Ashley wins the 2 of the last 3.
Yeah.
Ashley wins 2 of the last 3, and even at that point, it's just like, okay, yeah, they're not going to go after him. They're going to go after everybody else, which is why it still bothers me that Ashley attacked Natalie. Like, you are the same person. You won, what, 1 more immunity than she did? So you can't even say that you are out there, like, killing it in all the challenges, because Natalie won the first immunity of the merge.
Mm.
Do you think, if Rob sits next to Ashley and Natalie, do you think that he just sweeps?
No, I think Ashley has the capability to take some votes away from Rob, 100%.
And why is that?
The Zapateras. I think the Zapateras might lean a little bit more toward Ashley. I think Ashley maybe gets Andrea. Like, she might be able to, I don't think beat Rob, but at least make it tight.
Okay, that's fair.
I think just because like she, I think, would be able to articulate herself. And the other 2 at this tribal council just didn't do it that well. So even just someone who has the ability to is already a step above in getting votes.
I would say that I do think that Ashley, only because Rob says in a confessional that Ashley like sucked up to Zapatera at different points. It's like, okay, well, I'm trusting his reads on the game right now. If you're saying that she's saying that, or if you're saying that she did, then she probably did. That's why I also think that Grant, if Grant sits next to Rob and Philip, I'm not going to say Grant wins because I still don't think so, but like I think it'd be damn close. I think that people would have seen Grant as the right-hand man that did try to talk to people, even though like he was still a part of this cult, that he was out there, you know, being his own self, whatever, himself. And I do feel like in that situation, he probably gets a few Zapatera votes. He doesn't get David Murphy's vote because David Murphy loves Rob. He probably gets maybe like Ashley's vote, maybe Natalie's vote, maybe Andrea Belke's vote. Like there's a very big case that, and what I loved about Grant is at Final Tribal, he's, at least the way they're showing it, he is giving Rob the death glare the entire time. Like this man is still pissed off at how the vote went. And even at the reunion, you could tell that they're not really friends anymore. And this is Rob's storyline when he makes it to the end, is he loses friends in the process because they just can't take the fact that their friend voted them out of a game. I respect Grant for still voting for Rob because he, like, what are you gonna vote? Are you gonna vote for File too? Like, come on. I know Grant wasn't that much of a character, but what do we think? Do we think that Grant could have beaten Rob? And what do we think about Rob this season? Or about Grant this season?
He was just so like he was just there. It felt like he was the ex NFL or NFL.
Yeah, he was NFL. Yeah, him and Steve were both ex NFL players.
Yeah. Generic white guys.
Well, I don't know. Grant was brownish. He had dreads.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, generic guys. And he just didn't do anything for me. So I don't know if he was doing anything for people on the island. He didn't get any confessionals. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. Boring.
That's the problem. Or one of the many problems with the season is, outside of Rob and Philip, no one really gets any screen time, especially with the merge. So, like, pre-merge, I actually enjoyed a lot of the mess on Zapatera.
Yeah.
Before, like, while Russell was there and after Russell was there, I enjoyed a lot of the mess that was happening on that tribe. Like, everything wasn't fluid, but, like, there were situations where it's like, okay, yeah, they might turn on each other here.
Rita
on Ometepe. Huh?
Rita wanting to go home because like her gums hurt.
Yes. Cerrito's hot. And on Ometepe, the fact that Christina survives 2 rounds, and in my head I just forgot that she survives 2 rounds, 2 rounds of them going to tribal. Like she gets voted out the 3rd time they go. I forgot that. I thought it went her first and then Matt Elrod. I don't know why I do Matt Elrod, Wyatt Nash, and to say their whole names instead of just saying Matt. But he's Matt Elrod. Yeah, he's Matt Elrod. But even that tribe, that first tribal, one of my favorite tribals of all time, from my favorite episode of the season. And then Ometepe just kind of it becomes the Rob show, where in Zapatera it's not really the Russell show. And then even after he leaves, like you can see a lot of these people's personality. I really liked Ralph. I think Ralph was a fun character. I think Ralph was a fun character. He was adorable. That's the best thing I say about Ralph. Also, he passed. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Rip rough guys.
But I love Ralph, and he had so many wholesome moments this season, including, and I forgot about this, when Grant has to pick a second person to eat the chocolate cake, and Ralph's like, I'll give him a hug or whatever, and then he goes, it's like, I'm not gay, but like I was like, I don't think anyone is implying that you are, Ralph.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I would love to see a spelling bee between Sue Hawk, Clay, and Ralph. I think just see
Ralph is like a less problematic Big Tom for me.
the way that Sue Hawk put sauna for her voting voting parchment. Ralph has file, and I believe some other mess ups throughout.
Yeah, there's some spellings. There's some spellings.
Clay put Denver Diva because he probably couldn't spell Gandia.
Gandia, yeah, probably not.
Denver Diva.
So I think a spelling bee between the three of them would be just.
Actually takes some votes from Bitter Jerzinger. See, that's the problem. These people are telling Rob that they don't like him, and they're still voting for him. Like this is why I will never buy into the whole bitter juries pick the wrong winner theory, because there are a lot of times where people go on there pissed off at people and still vote for them. Grant is a perfect example, because Grant could have voted for File or Natalie. And yes, I'm going to keep on calling him File. But Grant could have, because he is pissed off at him. And a lot of people are attacking Rob, for treating women the whatever way he treated women this season, which I didn't, at least in the edit, it didn't seem like Rob was doing anything other than just controlling them like a Russell way. Not in like it was just, hey, everyone hold hands, including Grant. Like he had Grant and Philip holding hands too. So it wasn't just the women, but the people were attacking him in that situation too. Those people were, and there's a moment where someone comes after him and Natalie, and he whispers to Natalie like they'll all be laughs and everything after this is done. And it was in that moment it's like, yeah, he knows this, because in All Stars those people were attacking him, and I have to imagine that at least some of them were very friendly with him once they got back to whatever Ponderosa was at that point. Mm-hmm. The Rob storyline for me, and we're going back to him because that's really like the only thing that we can talk about. The Rob storyline for me over the last 22 days has been my favorite Rob rewatch, if that makes sense. So like besides like some off color comments, and he makes some more cases, I loved everything that he did there. I think when he comes back for All Stars, like I talked about for All Stars, the fact that he ran into a cast that thought they were playing Friend Viber, and he wasn't, and he was very apologetic, and he felt bad that his friends didn't want to be friends with him anymore. You go to Heroes versus Villains, where he's basically the hero of the villain tribe because Russell Hand sucks, and he gets voted out because of Tyson. And coming to here, where it's like, yes, okay, let's just give Rob his win. Not by rigging it, but just putting him in a situation where he has the best chance at winning. Because we're going to get that next season, too. We're going to give two of our favorites their best chance at winning by putting them against people that, most of them don't know how to play the game. Some of them do, including the winner. One of my favorite moments with Rob this season, when he's not being corny, wearing his family on his back and all that. God, Jeff Probst. Is when right before they go to Final Tribal, and he sits there and he's sitting next to Natalie, and he's like, the one thing I regret about my Final Tribal and All Stars is the fact that I sat up there and apologized to everyone. And I'm like, yeah, I because that was 16, 17 days ago. I don't do math. I remember that vividly, and yes, he did sit up there and he apologized to every single person. And I don't think they would have changed the vote if he didn't. But if that's the regret that he had from that season, he definitely didn't do it this time, and people did come after him this time, and I respect that. What do you think of if this was the end of Boston Rob on reality television? Let's say we don't even get him back for Winners at War. What are y'all's thoughts on Boston Rob from Marquesas to here as far as that storyline?
So I have not seen Winners at War. So in my mind, this is the end of Boston Rob.
Okay.
And I feel like, I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts because like I'm glad he finally got his win. I feel like he had to. Like, if he hadn't won, they would probably bring him back for another season, so he would win. But it's also kind of like not even like an exciting win. It's like, ugh, yeah.
It
He
happened.
didn't even like really fight for it. So whatever.
Didn't have to fight. He's smiling at Final Tribal. He's just laughing because Phil just keeps talking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad Rob got his win. This is actually, I was going to bring this up. This is my favorite moment of Redemption Island. Rob just going, I have the clue. I don't need it. And chucks it into the volcano.
So I wanted to bring that. I'm glad someone brought it up, and I'm glad you brought it up. I feel like this is a very overrated moment because it doesn't like. Oh, I can't believe like one of the greatest moments is when Rob throws a clue in the volcano. It's like cool. That like
it's just
so
funny to me. It's just a funny confessional where it's just like
it was like one of the few things that I remember from this season. I'm like, is that the season where Rob throws the clue in the volcano? And like that's what I remember.
And it's so crazy because the first time I watched the season, I didn't think anything of it, and then of course you join the online community. And you watch all these videos and everything, and everyone's always bringing up Rob throwing the clue in the volcano. It's like, yeah. He also found another clue earlier in the season that he swaps clues
under Philip's fat ass.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. There's not many things overrated about this season. You can't really overrate things with this season. That moment has always just stood out to me. It's like, why are people so stuck on that? And I'm like, it's fine. Like, obviously, I'm in the minority for that, and I'm fine with that. I've never understood it. As we start to wrap up, thank God. Like we mentioned, we had Andrea, Francesca, and Philip, if we don't include Rob coming up for Winners at War. We had the three of them come back. And we have Andrea come back twice. Is there anybody from this season that should have come back that you would have been excited to see come back at any point?
Well, so Stephanie Valencia was on the ballot for second chances.
So was Natalie, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And was David Murphy?
I think David Murphy might have been on there too.
Yeah. Okay. So the only one I would have wanted to see again is Stephanie, and I think she could have been really interesting replacing someone like, I don't know, Monica.
I feel so bad. I'm shitting on Monica.
Monica Culpepper?
No, Monica.
No, Monica Padilla.
No.
Exactly.
Monica Culpepper. I like Monica Culpepper, so
we're in the middle of Blood versus Water, so it's fresh on our mind, Monica Culpepper. But yeah, so I'm not clamoring for Stephanie to come back, but she would have been really interesting in that season where they're all two-time players and like there's nobody with like an upper hand.
Yeah, and she would have been, if she made the pass, she would have been, what, the second pre-merger on there besides Kelly? I believe so, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Garner.
Garner made the merge, but yeah.
Made the merge. Pre-jury. Never mind.
I would have been cool with a Stephanie if they had voted in Stephanie. I wasn't like when I saw her on the ballot. It's like, okay, that's weird, but fine, I get it. David Murphy, absolutely not. The dude was so pretentious all season, and just his final tribal speech, he was trying to emulate my favorite juror, and it was not that. It was Eric Cardona. He is not. And Natalie, I feel like it would have been compelling, maybe, but like, no.
I think she falls flat. 100%.
Yeah, no. I'm good on. And outside of that, yeah, like I think the three people that came back from the season outside of Rob, was not on the ballot. Okay, thank goodness. The other guy was the David Murphy proxy on Second Chances or on South Pacific was on the ballot. Jim Rice. Jim Rice was on the ballot. Yes, South Pacific is a carbon copy of Redemption Island, and I can't wait to talk about it tomorrow and just talk about who plays what character. But yeah, I think that the people that we've got, and I think like Andrea has solidified herself in Survivor history because of her next 2 seasons. She escapes the redemption, and it sucks because Andrea's on 3 shit seasons. She's on 3 shit seasons, and she still, has established herself as, one of the great Survivor characters.
Yeah.
50. Anyone?
Keep it going. Next question, Andrew.
That's the last question. 50.
Okay, don't we think Boston Rob will come back for 50?
No, stop it.
Don't we think that's happening?
No, I mean, I don't think they're having any winners on there.
Sorry,
I hope
you and I are here now, Andrew.
No. No, I mean, yeah, obviously I feel like they will probably reach out to him. I don't want anyone that was on Winners at War. Like, just
we got Andrea.
Huh?
We got Andrea or Philip back. Let's go.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't hate, because I feel like if Andrea came back at this point, it would just be like a meme.
Yeah.
Just like, oh man, okay, so we don't have anybody else. Let's get Andrea back here, and it's like, okay, cool. No, but not in like a bad way, because I do feel like I think she's a fun player. I do, but on Fans' Favorites 2, it's like, okay, that's interesting. And on Game Changers, it's like, okay, that's interesting. But every single time she establishes herself as a character that we can sit and not relate to, but care about. So, like, if she does end up on 50, I'm not gonna cry over it, and I feel like she would have the best chance outside of Rob. But once again, please don't bring back any winners, especially any winners from Winners at War. Outside of Andrea, Philip would be the only person that they would even contemplate, and I'm good on not having Philip 3.0, because if it goes the route of Coach 3.0, then that's not going to be good. If it goes the route of
how many more names can he make for Stealth R Us? I mean,
unless he retires Stealth R Us and he just goes out there as actual Philip Shepard, no gimmicks,
just himself.
He goes out there, he just goes out, no gimmicks. He's just Philip Shepard.
Wow, that'd be wild.
Yeah,
I in the game as File.
It's File, yeah. As a shout out to Ralph.
The gorilla and the leopard or whatever, and then he'll have Ralph carrying.
Oh, Ralph on his back. Oh, and he's carrying Ralph up the stairs. But thank y'all for talking about this shit season with me.
Hey, anytime, Andrew.
I'm gonna give it a 1.75 out of 5. Which means it's my 3rd lowest ranked season now. Yay. It's above.
Yeah.
Okay, so in our rewatch, this is our 3rd lowest ranked season as well. The only seasons we have below it are
Nicaragua and Thailand.
Nicaragua and Thailand. Oh, yeah, Nicaragua and Thailand. It's right below All Stars and right in front of Nicaragua and Thailand.
So I was on what season last? Gabon, so that's our 4th from the bottom.
Gabon is 16th right now out of 22. I know, probably
26.
But thank you both.
Of course.
Thank you everyone in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow with Redemption Island 2, South Pacific, with Ozzy and Coach and Sophie and Jim Rice. And other people.
Steve Olsen, Whitney, Brandon,
Cochran, Herpy Mouth.
Herpy Mouth.
Oh no, I forgot this is Cochran.
Rick and the squirrels making love.
And Albert and all these people. It's so exciting, and I can't wait. I can't wait for Coach to gaslight the shit out of Brandon Hands. God. But thank you both. Thank you, and we'll see you guys on the other side.